Hello. I was preparing to make a video about the Trump-Biden debate, which is full of interesting things. But there are two things I wanted to share with you before I get to work on that one. And the first is to do with a comment which was made under my last video, which was about a speech delivered by Sir David Clementi, who is at present the head of the BBC, and he gave that speech to an organisation called the Voice of the Listener and Viewer. He said during his speech, it was reported that he said that the most difficult thing that he'd had to do was restore the licence fee for over 75s. And somebody made a comment underneath my video because I had pointed out that the BBC had got a concession from the government on the condition that it took away the licence fee for over 75s. And it did that for a couple of years and then put the licence fee back. And this person said, if they had an agreement with the government, can't the government take them to task? And that's a reasonable thing to say. And this is an article, it says it's here more than 5 years old, from The Guardian. It says, BBC to take on £750 million cost of subsidy for over 75s in licence fee deal. And then it goes on to say the BBC has agreed to pay the 600 million plus annual cost of providing free TV licenses for people over 75 in return for being allowed to increase the fee in line with inflation. Now, I just want to point this out. The BBC has agreed to pay the 600 million plus annual cost. Yeah. You know, this is a very typical Guardian way of saying it. What they should be saying is the BBC has agreed not to charge the 600 million plus annual cost. The BBC is a huge organisation containing a lot of people, many of whom are not pulling their weight. Many of whom are getting far too much. And the BBC is also spending a lot of money on projects that don't benefit anybody. And I'm talking about stuff like diversity projects, but there are other things as well. And there's many ways that the BBC could cut back and go to its original remit, but it doesn't want to do that because it reckons it is now an engine for social change. It isn't simply a broadcasting company. So it says here they're generously going to pay £600 million plus to pay for over 75s to watch them. When in fact it's mostly the over 75s who do watch them. There's nobody else watching them because of their diversity issues. I mentioned in my last video how I'd stopped watching the BBC because I got fed up of its attitude, and I was surprised by the number of people who said the same thing and telling me that they had stopped watching at around the same time I had, which is also interesting. Anyway, this person said, why does the BBC get away with this without the government taking them to task? And I said, my response was, because they're frightened. And then I thought of an aphorism which I don't think anyone has said before. You know, it's one of those things, you're sure somebody must have said it, but I've not seen it written down anywhere. It just came into my head. And it's this: whoever controls the publicity controls the public. And the government is afraid of what the BBC will say about them. And unfortunately, you see, the other channels take their lead from the BBC. The BBC is so powerful, they have little option. So the whole, and this goes in America as well. And the interesting thing about Trump is he is not afraid. He is not afraid of the publicity that is controlled by giants like MSNBC and the other broadcasting companies. He's not afraid of them because he knows how to do his own publicity. He's one of the very few who actually knows more about publicity than any other politician. And indeed than half of the public broadcasters as well. So that's why they're afraid of him. And that's why they keep on trying to give him a bad rep. Well, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is a little domestic thing, which maybe some man can explain to me. Go on, mansplain. Do your best. I was having breakfast. I'd cut myself 2 slices of bread, homemade bread, I might say. I learned to do that during lockdown and I keep on doing it now. Okay, so I cut myself 2 slices of bread, poured myself my usual huge mug of coffee, and then sat down and thought, well, I don't want cheese on this again. I just didn't feel like cheese. I thought, I'll open a tin of salmon and I'll put that on the bread. So, I just got this idea I wanted that on my toast. So I opened this tin of salmon and there I was sitting with some of the salmon squashed onto the bread and the rest of the salmon in the tin on the kitchen table. And my husband came through into the kitchen and we were chatting and he said, "Why don't you finish that salmon?" And I said, "I don't want it. I've got enough here." And he said, "It's tempting me." So I said, "Well, that's fine. Finish it off. You eat it." He said, "No, I don't like salmon." Right, well, explain that to me if you can. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.